can be an elite competitor and never win worlds, for sure. I feel like getting to ADCC was like a really big moment for my career. Like you can say, I was in the top 16 in the world, and you can make all kinds of arguments about, oh, well, it's from Australasia, so it doesn't, you know, whatever. But like, I was there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man-child, Daniel Schuardt!
Get up and go. Oh, head kick, head right hand.
But Dan's a very methodical grappler.
Hey guys, how you going? My name's Daniel the Man-Child Schuardt. I'm a black belt under Lachlan Giles from Melbourne, Australia. My biggest achievements to date, probably making it to ADCC this year. I won the Asian trials to punch my ticket. Before that, I pursued ADCC many times before. I've managed to take silver at the trials twice. I also won bronze in IBJJF Nogi Worlds at brown belt. I've competed all over the world. On AIGA, in London. Those are probably my biggest achievements. Also, when I was a brown belt, I remember Jason Rao came to Australia, and I'll never forget, he rolled with Lockie, and I had a bit of a roll with him, and he kind of felt my level. You know, he was very nice, and I'm sure he probably could have completely towed me up. But on that day, for whatever reason, he felt very nice to roll with. And don't get me wrong, I didn't get the better of him. But I kind of like made good shapes, and I had good, you know, decision making under pressure and this sort of things. And I walked away being like, oh, that was a really fun roll, thank you. My coach Lockie was like, oh, Daniel, you should go do ADCC trials in Kazakhstan. And I was like, nah, that's a lot. That's so much to bet on myself like this and go out there and go do it. That kind of speaks again to like the lack of self-confidence, I guess. Like that was kind of the first time I heard about ADCC trials. Like I'd known the ADCC existed, but in terms of like how it actually worked, I didn't really know until then. After that, Giles was telling me that like he spoke to Jason, and Jason was like, oh, is that big guy gonna go do trials? Am I gonna look out for him on the stream or whatever? And he's like, oh no, he doesn't want to, you know, just doesn't really feel ready. And apparently Jason messaged back and be like, what? That guy should definitely do it. And Giles showed me this message thread or whatever it was, I can't exactly remember, but I walked away being like, wow, this guy who really I respect in the jiu-jitsu scene was like, oh, I should go do that, apparently. So that kind of was like, oh, all right, Jesus, I didn't think I was there, but sure, right? Because obviously you get bashed by Craig every day in training, and you're like, wow, I must be awful. If I'm not feeling a training session, so back home I normally get up at like 5:30 in the morning to go and train and do either like weights or teach classes on like this. Bro, I'll put on some insane hard style, just absolutely get crunk in my Nissan on the way to training at an absurd hour of the morning. And by the time I get there, I'm ready to go. So 100%, the right music can for sure bring the life, you know, back into the room and you know, rejuvenate you even when you're really exhausted.
$150 big ones, let's go. Or I'll get crushed to death, one of those two things happen.
So growing up, I didn't really do a lot of sports. In spite of being really big, as a kid, I didn't really get into many different sports seriously. The only exception being basketball. It's a funny story. When I was like 13, I played basketball. I knew after the first game it really wasn't for me. The whole game, I was struggling to get my hands on the ball, and you know, every time I would get to it, I would fumble it pretty much. Anyway, my first goal ever in basketball, I get my hands on the ball, got passed to me, and I'm like, this is it. This is my moment. And I dribble up, shoot it, dunk it in. I didn't dunk it, obviously, because I was 13, right? But I got the basket, I sunk it, and I looked around and I'm like, yes! And all my team were looking at me like, just face palming so hard because I literally shot the ball into the wrong basket. Like, it was just after we changed sides, in fairness, but I felt like such a dickhead, bro. And I was like, wow, basketball is not for me, clearly. Outside of that, when I was young, I started guitar when I was like 10 years old, and I played pretty seriously. I got really into it really quickly, so I started playing like, you know, multiple hours a day. Basically every day I would come home, I would try and learn a new song and learn a new riff and, you know, learn my scales and practice and all this sort of thing. I was mostly self-taught. Like, I remember when I was in school, I learned how to play Smoke on the Water on a ukulele that my friend brought to school. And yeah, basically that was it. It kind of kick-started it. My dad played in bands when he was much younger, so they kind of nourished me with music and showed me a few things. And you know, I kind of essentially made it a really big part of my life for a long time. And yeah, I ended up like playing some shows, and I used to busk for a living to try and like get around and just kind of support myself. Yeah, so I used to be around here basically, and yeah, I used to basically come here after school and just play for as long as I could muster and make some money to pay for my train fare basically, and got me through, you know. And I didn't really come from a lot of money when I was young, so to be able to support myself and, you know, help me get through and you know, allow myself to travel and train and get to jiu-jitsu and do what I wanted to do was kind of cool, to be able to use music as a stepping stone to try and help me do jiu-jitsu. To me, it was always about like learning more and more songs from different things. Like, I wanted to be able to be the guy that like at a party, anybody could be like, oh, play this song or that song, and just have it like on standby, ready to go, you know? It was always a neat little party trick, but yeah. So I'm not that now, but I used to be for sure really into music. Sure, so guitar helped me a lot in my the start of my jiu-jitsu career. Obviously, I think it helped in that like I was able to fund getting there to training and all that sort of thing, and you know, really allowing myself to live a life that I could self-sustain in that sense. But also, I think it really taught me the value of, obviously I'd gotten good at guitar by just rocking up and putting a bunch of hours into, you know, being on the guitar. And so that translated to jiu-jitsu nicely, I feel like, because it showed me that like if I just kind of put the hours in, I can just find the information, get better, and put in the time to like really improve. And I feel like that played a big part. And yeah, I think it also kind of like allowed me to, you know, have another avenue to express myself. Like, music is very expressive a lot of the time, and to find like the art sense in jiu-jitsu as well was really powerful. Oh girl, look at that body. Oh girl, look at that body. I work out. What else do I know? Let me see. I think, like, you know, the adage of like autism in jiu-jitsu is for sure a valid point. It's actually funny, like I used to make fun of my friends when I was like in my early 20s about people being Asperger or autistic and all this stuff just because it was funny, right? And then later in, like, maybe a few years down the track was when I finally I got basically told by my shrink, they're like, yeah, you've got all these problems, but have you ever heard of Asperger's? Like, for real, have you ever looked at what it is? And then basically went down this road and they were like, yeah, that's what's going on with you. You have Asperger's. And I was like, oh, that fucking makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so it's kind of funny, but it also, I don't know, it checks out so far. 1 for 1 on the autistics being good at jiu-jitsu scale. Sure, so the first time I heard about jiu-jitsu, I think I was like maybe 14 or something like this, and I think it was like my girlfriend's uncle at the time played some UFC on these old DVDs, and I was like completely blown away by how sick it was, basically. And I was really intrigued by the concept of like being able to win a fight without punching somebody and like hitting them. I was like, what? You can just like take them down and strangle them and they will just die? That's crazy. Like 14-year-old me was like, this is unbelievable. Anyway, and so then I kind of ummed and ahed about the idea, because obviously like at the time we didn't have a lot, like financially. And so I knew if I was going to do it, it would have to be pretty serious for me. I found this academy in Ringwood, which was quite close to a train station. So my dad didn't have a license, so everywhere I had to go basically by myself with the train. So it being close to the station was the main selling point for me. I walked past there one time with my dad and my dad's friend, Alf. Alf was like a really serious Wing Chun practitioner. And I asked him, I'm like, oh bro, I'm thinking about trying this jiu-jitsu. And we walked past it. I'm like, what do you reckon about this academy? Does it look good? And he looks in and it's like the size of a fridge, literally, with like just shitty jigsaw mats and like basically nothing else. And he walked past and he's like, it's got character. And so then I was all right, bet. So this is my first ever tattoo. It's a heel hook. It was done so badly. It was terrible. I think it was like when I was 21 and it was Australia Day here. And Australia Day is a national public holiday where people get really drunk. Anyway, and so I reached out to a tattoo artist in the area that was like the only one that was open. I was like, oh bro, can you like tattoo a simple hook on my heel here? And he's like, oh yeah, okay, sure. And I get there, and the bloke's literally drunk, talking about his friend who just died and all this other sad stuff. Meanwhile, it's my first tattoo ever, and I was like, I had no idea how bad this situation could be. And it's literally been touched up so many times, but it's like the worst tattoo. Like it's actually like not good. Like if you look at it closely, you'll see. It's like the details are just terrible. But yeah, heel hook is my favorite move in jiu-jitsu, one of my favorite moves in jiu-jitsu. And I just think it's dumb as shit. And it's funny because like I go around the world with jiu-jitsu now, and every now and again I'll come against somebody who's like also got a heel hook tattoo, and instantaneously me and that guy become best friends. Easy peasy. So I went in and tried. My first class was when I was 15, so it was like February of 2011. And I came in and, you know, like most jiu-jitsu sessions, I came in and I got pretty much stomped, right? And it was funny because like I'd watched a few things on YouTube before going in, and obviously I was a YouTube black belt at that point. But going in, it was really funny. I had my introduction to jiu-jitsu by one of the other like slightly higher white belts than me, Pete. And it's funny because now Pete is still one of my students. And I promoted him to blue belt like after like 11 years of jiu-jitsu. So he was like just one of those guys that like inconsistent, but always just showed up. And yeah, so it's pretty cool to have like the guy that showed me jiu-jitsu, like with my intro to jiu-jitsu, to now be one of my students at my academy, which is pretty special. But yeah, I remember coming in and just being like useless, because if my basketball story was anything to go by, I was not a great athlete. Like I was a big kid for sure, 113 kilos when I started jiu-jitsu, quite a thick boy. And yeah, like the same height, like 6'1", 113 kilos, but like I had some girth on me for real. But yeah, so going in, it was like a shock to the system. And yeah, everything came up for Millhouse after that. When I went to Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle, which was our first club, I was there for a year and a half until it eventually closed down. So they was doing like all this renovations and stuff to the station we were going to. So it was always kind of like eventually going to have to move or close or something. So I was there for a year and a half, and we literally used to get like 20 dudes crammed into this tiny area. I want to say it was like maybe 60 square meters. In my head, it was like tiny, right? And you know, something thereabouts. And like you'd just be rolling on top of dudes. It would be like hot in the summer, and you'd just be dying in the heat. But yeah, so I was there, and yeah, my dad paid the monthly fee each time, and so that allowed me to go. And so because somebody was paying for me, obviously I felt a duty to like use my membership basically. And not that I wasn't intrigued by it, so I started out going like 3 days a week, and then eventually they added like a Monday class, because I went to all the classes they had basically except for the weekend, and added the Monday, so then it was 4 days. And then eventually that gym, like I said, closed down, and we moved to a new gym, Extreme, down the street, which was opening kind of with us closing down.
So the atmosphere at Extreme, I honestly think there's a lot in the name of an academy. So for example, precision, not a big secret. I try to be really precise about what I'm teaching people. Extreme, it was kind of extreme. No, the guys there, you know, we trained really hard, and we kind of like had this like tough approach to jiu-jitsu. Very old school, very tough, very like hard-nosed, very like just keep the pressure on and crush the bastard and you're gonna get a breakthrough. And this works to an extent. So we honestly, as a competitive team, our white belts used to do so good because they were just used to being like manhandled in training. And the second you could manhandle somebody else, you just did at Extreme. And so when you're a white belt, having the ability and the tenacity to really get after it and really put a pace on somebody worked really well. But by the time you hit like blue and purple belt, you kind of found that like, a lot of the time, the competitors started to really struggle. And this is probably mostly because we weren't really shown like the cutting edge of jiu-jitsu. I had to do a lot of digging myself to kind of like elevate my game out of just smashing people as a strategy for a long-term approach to jiu-jitsu. And yeah, like the level, there was a handful of guys who were very talented and who worked very hard and who really dedicated themselves to trying to get better at martial arts. And those guys really shined through. The average level, I would say, was not crazy high at Extreme. Like the tenacity was there, they had the spirit, they had the hard work and the camaraderie. And, you know, but there's a level of like a fine line between camaraderie and being in a cult. Sometimes dance that line very closely. No, so many good people from there, honestly. Like, I wouldn't be who I am in martial arts without those early stages. So, and some amazing experiences through them. And they also looked after me quite a lot. Like when I turned pro in mixed martial arts, they sponsored me. From the beginning I walked in at Extreme, I literally told them out of the gate, I'm like, hey, I actually don't think I can afford this membership because I wasn't exactly well-to-do. And they gave me a job cleaning the mats 3 times a week. And I did that from the age of 16 until I was sponsored as a professional fighter. So I have no complaints about how they treated me. They did really well.
Initially, when I started jiu-jitsu, it was not like a crazy big thing in my city for sure. We had maybe like 2 or 3 competitions per year, you know, or certainly any big competitions. So anything that came around, I tried to eventually jump in at. And so I first started competing maybe like 8 months into jiu-jitsu. And yeah, you know, haven't looked back. So my first competition, I was still pretty big. I was kind of overweight and I was like 16 years old and I had this massive mop of hair and I looked absurd. So back when it was cool, kids, to be like a goth looking scene emo kid, I was that 100%. It was unreal. So I still had this ridiculous head of hair and yeah, went out and competed in the adults division because I was like, at that time, still really heavy. Basically my first match, I got pretty much mauled. I got outpointed, and my second match similar, but not too bad. So my first competition was at this like local round robin, basically, that they put on. And then in my third match, I came out against this guy, and I believe he was a judoka of some kind, and he threw me with like a full ogoshi, and I remember the room shaking for 45 minutes after I landed. But I was so winded, oh my God. And I eventually recovered back to guard, and I managed to armbar this guy, and it was my first ever submission in jiu-jitsu. And I was like, damn, that really sucked, but that felt really, really cool to win. So yeah, I was totally hooked. I mean, even before then, but then after that, my interest for competing went way up. So yeah, that was a pretty big moment for my jiu-jitsu, to get my first dub after getting completely obliterated. You know, over time, especially since I was a certified YouTube black belt, like purple belt me really had a handle on jiu-jitsu. I was really getting good, which obviously that paradigm got completely crushed eventually when I went to Nogi Worlds and I tried to wrestle with a 3-time All-American, and I was like, wow, I actually suck at this. But yeah, it was kind of funny. It was like the first kind of main sign for me that I was in a bit of a cult, actually, was when I went to my coach at the time and I said, oh coach, I'm prepping for Nogi Worlds and I'm thinking I really want to like do some work at Absolute in St Kilda, because at the time they had like Lockie Giles, Craig Jones, and a bunch of other really good people fighting out of there. And my coach was like, oh, you could do that, or you could spend the time on our guys here so that they can get good, so that they can push you in training. And in my head, I'm like, that makes so much sense. But again, autism, easily led astray, didn't work out. But so that was one of the times where I was like, oh, I really need to look at where I'm training and all those sorts of things. But yeah, so ended up being a bit of an L, a bit of a fail. But yeah, we got through it. And yeah, even now, like, I think to myself now that like, oh, I'm definitely really good at jiu-jitsu. But then I train with like Gordon and I'm like, oh, actually, I'm gonna hand in my black belt and get a new white one because I'm so shit. So it's a natural progression to go up and feel good and come down and have this like ego death from time to time when you train with somebody who's, you know, the GOAT, basically. So it's not an experience everybody gets to get, obviously, but the more you actually are honest with yourself and, you know, pursue hard training, the more you'll realize like just how much there is to learn in jiu-jitsu. So the big thing with jiu-jitsu that like really drew me in was like, when I was young especially, and like even, you know, now to some extent, although it's gotten much better with a lot of work, I used to have really, really negative self-talk. Like just the things I would say to myself and think about myself. I was very, a bit of a broken young man up until, honestly, fairly recently. And so for me, I felt like with jiu-jitsu, I was able to find something that was totally encapsulating for my attention. So when you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're trying not to get strangled to death and you're trying to, you know, solve this incredibly complex puzzle, there was no room in my head for anything other than what is exactly in front of me. And that was probably the main thing actually that like made me go, wow, this shit is unbelievable. That was honestly the main thing that really hooked me. Like obviously it's a fun game, you know, it's not that fun to get smashed, but just the whole ability for something to take all of my attention and put it onto this one little thing and like kind of drown out the negative voice. Obviously after class, if you get stomped, you're like, oh fuck, I suck so bad. But that's like the beauty of jiu-jitsu is it's like a meritocracy. So like, if you go away and you think, oh my God, my guard got passed so many times, like there's things you can do to try to resolve that. Like there's always something you can find or learn or even just like reflect on that can help to get you better. So while it's easy to get stuck on like, oh man, I suck so bad or whatever, like if you focus on just improvement, then it only gets better. So those two combinations of things where it's like purely based on like how much you know and how much you can execute, combined with like what it did for my mental state and kind of being able to like allow me to quieten the voice inside was one of the main things that really, you know, had me hooked.